Silent Hill F Standard Edition comes out today, but if you boot up the PC version, it should run great, but it looks a little weird. That's because the default settings are all set to max, and the default frame rate is 30. Today in this video, I'll take you through how to optimize the settings for Silent Hill F on PC. But if you haven't purchased Silent Hill F on the PC yet, please take a look down in the description of this video for a link to fanatical.com. You can save up to 25% at Fanatical on either the Deluxe or Standard Edition of Silent Hill F. I use Fanatical to purchase the PC version of Silent Hill 2, and it worked perfect. They also sent me a coupon to get an additional 5% off of my next purchase, so save money at Fanatical today. Finally, let's talk about optimizing Silent Hill F on your PC. Here are the specs for my Windows desktop computer, but I will be talking about a variety of settings in a hope of targeting everything from the minimum to recommended specs for the game. So here we've just begun a new game. You can see my benchmark counters up in the top upper right corner of the screen. And yes, we're currently getting a full 26 frames per minute. And if we start moving around, you can see that everything is pretty blurry, especially when you're moving. There's a lot of drop frames, and that's not great. So let's change this. Let's go click the start button to open up our menu. Let's go down to options, select that, go to graphics. And as you can see, I have borderless window selected. That way I can tab between my windows on PC. Just makes life a lot easier. I'm also running the game at 4K. And here is our main bad guy, the frame rate limit. So let's change that to no limit. And let's save that option. You'll see the screen save for a second. All right, so now if we run around, we're doing a little bit better, but we are still having that terrible blur between when we are rotating everything around. It's even worse, like if we rotate the camera around here and then we snap back, yeah, it looks really bad. So let's hit the start button again. We're still getting only about 26 frames per second, you notice. We'll change some settings in order to fix that. Everything in the game, all of the settings are set to the maximum. Out of the box, that's not necessarily what you want. So the epic setting for Lumen is probably not the best. So we're going to take that down to high. And also the reflections, we're going to take that down to high. Now, if you compare epic to high, you are honestly not going to see much drop in quality. So I'm going to exit out of the screen and we'll save. And we should see an immediate uptick in frames per second. Yep, so running a lot better already. Now there's some further ways that we can optimize this. So if we go back into our options, go to graphics and scroll down to where we have the shadow quality. This turns out is one of the most demanding settings in the game. It sort of determines the quality of the shadows that are thrown onto surfaces and objects. For a computer with about 8 gigabytes of VRAM, you're going to want to set this down to medium. If you have a little bit more VRAM like I do, I have 12 gigabytes of VRAM, I'm going to go ahead and set this to high. Let's go ahead and go back out. And as you can see, we had a bit of an update there. And already, things are running a little bit smoother. We're still getting that blur, so I think we're going to prioritize getting rid of that next. And you should see the biggest change. So if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that motion blur is on by default. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And then let's continue changing our other settings. Everything else is set to very high. Texture quality, honestly, there's not much impact. There is a little bit of uptick in frame rate every time you take this down. I'm going to use high. Again, if you're running at about 8 gigabytes of VRAM, you're going to want to take this down to medium. So with high, if we go ahead and exit out, we can see now that we have gained a few more FPS. And also with the motion blur off, we're getting a lot better tracking. If we just rotate the window around Hinako and then zoom back, yeah, we've lost kind of that terrible sort of dizzy feeling we're getting from all that motion blur. So let's go back into the graphics settings and let's keep talking about the other settings. All right, so shader quality. This has a pretty good impact. This has to do with the rendering on windows and lights and all kinds of things. I am going to go ahead and take this down to medium for my system. We are going to see a pretty good impact there. For the visual effect quality, it's set to very high. There is not much impact from changing this, so pretty much anybody with between the minimum to recommended requirements can pretty much take this to high or very high. I'm going to take this down to high. Post-processing quality, this doesn't have much impact at all, so I'm going to go ahead and take this down to medium. And then we have view distance quality. I would say take this to medium. Don't take this down to low, otherwise you sort of lose some of the visuals completely. I think that taking to medium really doesn't do too much to the background. Then we have anti-aliasing, and this kind of affects like how you see things like hair and leaves. For me, on an RTX, I'm actually going to take this to DLS, and I'm going to leave the anti-aliasing quality at balanced. And as you can see, if you've been noticing as I've been changing this, my FPS up at the top bar has been changing, and I'm already up to 70 FPS, and I haven't even left the screen yet. So, yep, looks like we got a full rebuild there. And yeah, now we're running at a good 80 frames per second. And look at that. Everything is very well optimized, and we can see everything pretty clearly. We can even rotate the camera without the motion blur effect, and it's looking much better. Let's run to an area where we might see reflections on the ground. All right, so there is a nice reflection on the ground, and you can see basically the quality of the box and also the buildings in that reflection. And as I move around, it's not really ruining the experience at all to use the lower shader settings. In fact, it looks pretty good. All right, here are some little puddles on the ground, and as you can see, when we move around, the building kind of comes into focus in the puddle, and that looks great. You can get a sense that that is a reflective surface. You can also see the light reflected across it. And as you can see, I'm enjoying a frame rate of about almost 100 frames per second with just a few dips here and there. So here is another puddle, and as you can see, the shapes above it are reflected nicely. They have nice definitions and everything. Also, the plant here looks good. It doesn't have like particles hanging off of it. And also, if we can turn the camera around, well, I don't seem to be able to turn the camera around the character anymore. But yeah, if we get up right close to her, her hair is very well defined and her face looks great. Just a reminder, but all of the cutscenes in the game will still be run at 30 frames per second. There is no way to increase that. But otherwise, you should see some fantastic results with these settings. All right, so now that the cutscene is over, you can see we went from 30 frames per second during the cutscene back up to well over 100, and the game is looking fantastic again, except for that glitch. That glitch is something that some other websites have reported in the PC game. I didn't see that in the PlayStation 5 game, but then again, all Unreal 5 engine games are optimized for PS5 and not for PC. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please click the like button to help me recommend it, and consider subscribing for more content like this on Double Back for Ammo.